Have you ever noticed that the people with the fewest friends are often the ones who understand life the most? Not because they cannot fit in, not because they are difficult, but because they notice what others overlook, such as small shifts in tone, unusual silence, or subtle inconsistencies between words and actions. They do not speak much, they simply observe. And they understand. If you have always felt slightly outside the social circle, the reason is not that you are closed off. You simply carry a rare and sensitive psychological pattern. And the next 5 traits will help you understand why you may have fewer friends than others, yet see people more clearly than most. One of the strongest reasons you have fewer friends is your sensitivity to inconsistency in other people. When someone's words do not match their actions, you sense it immediately. When their tone shifts for just a moment, you notice it. Your brain reacts strongly to these contradictions because it interprets them as signs of emotional risk. Most people ignore inconsistencies. You don't. You see the gap between what someone says and how they truly behave. You hear the promise, but you watch the action. And when the two do not match, your heart automatically steps back. This is not because you are difficult. It is a natural form of self-protection. You want clarity. You want honesty. You want people who do what they say and say what they mean. But in reality, not everyone can offer that. So you withdraw, you filter carefully, and your circle becomes smaller. This sensitivity also protects you. It keeps you away from half-hearted friendships, empty words, and people who show up only when it benefits them. You don't trust easily, but when you do, you trust sincerely. And because you notice inconsistencies so quickly, you tend to think more deeply about human behavior. That brings us to the next trait, one that explains how your mind works beneath the surface. Another common trait among people with fewer friends is a deeper way of thinking. You do not just hear what someone says, you analyze how they say it. You do not just see an action, you pay attention to the meaning behind it. Your brain is wired to search for depth and context. You want to understand the reason behind things, why someone reacted the way they did, what emotion they were hiding, what the situation truly meant. This is not overthinking. It is deeper cognitive processing. Because of that, shallow conversations drain you. Small talk feels empty because it does not tell you anything real. You prefer conversations with meaning, honesty, and emotional clarity. And since these conversations do not happen often, you choose silence over speaking just to fill space. This sometimes makes others think you are quiet or hard to approach, but in reality, you are simply waiting for the right person and the right kind of conversation. When you meet someone who speaks with clarity, sincerity, and depth, you open up effortlessly. This depth of perception also comes with a cost. When you think and feel deeply, you become more sensitive to emotional environments. Loud, chaotic, or negative people can drain your energy much faster than they drain others. And that leads directly to the next trait, which explains why protecting your emotional energy becomes essential for you. When you process information and emotions deeply, social interaction requires more mental energy from you. Loud environments, emotional tension, or negative atmospheres can overwhelm your nervous system quickly. So when you step away, it is not because you dislike people. It is because your mind and body need to regain balance. From a psychological perspective, this is a natural response of a sensitive nervous system. When your brain constantly monitors tone, expressions, and emotional shifts around you, fatigue sets in faster. To avoid burnout, you learn to limit social exposure and choose environments that feel emotionally safer. This often means you show up less to gatherings. Others may assume you are distant or uninterested. In reality, you are doing what is necessary to protect your mental well-being. You choose calmer spaces, quieter conversations, and relationships that do not demand constant emotional adjustment. Protecting your energy does not make you fragile. It allows you to remain clear-minded, grounded, and deeply empathetic. But when you become this careful with your environment, you also become slower to open up to people. And that naturally leads us to the next trait, one that explains how you build trust and why it takes time for you to feel emotionally safe with someone. When you protect your emotional energy, you also become more cautious about trust. You cannot trust someone after just a few conversations, not because you are suspicious, but because your brain needs enough information to determine whether a person is emotionally safe. You observe how they behave when no one is watching. how they react under pressure, and how they speak about people who are not present. In psychology, trust is built through consistent behavior, not words, and you understand this intuitively. Because of this, you open up slowly. You do not reveal everything right away. You give yourself time to sense the other person's emotional patterns and stability. Some people interpret this as distance or coldness. In reality, you are simply making sure your emotions are placed in the right environment. Once trust is established, your relationships tend to be deep and lasting. You are loyal, sincere, and not quick to walk away. That is why your circle remains small. But those who remain are usually meaningful and dependable connections. However, when you take time to build trust and avoid emotional chaos, another trait naturally emerges. It is the final one, and it explains why emotional maturity plays such a central role in your social life. As you think deeply, protect your energy, and build trust slowly, you also develop a higher level of emotional maturity. You do not react impulsively. You reflect before speaking. You understand that not every emotion needs to be expressed, and not every conflict needs to be escalated. From a psychological standpoint, this reflects strong emotional regulation. You can recognize your feelings without letting them control your behavior. You do not seek drama. You do not feed conflict. You do not feel the need to prove yourself within relationships. Because of this, you often do not fit well in social environments driven by comparison, competition, or gossip. When others seek emotional stimulation, you seek stability. When others react quickly, you choose calm. This can make you appear less socially active, but it also protects you from relationships that drain your mental health. Some people may interpret this maturity as distance or seriousness. In reality, you simply refuse to sacrifice inner peace for temporary attention. You value respect, clarity, and emotional safety more than popularity. And when you step back and look at all 5 traits together, something becomes clear. Having fewer friends is not a deficiency. It is the natural outcome of how your mind and emotions work. You notice inconsistency, so you cannot pretend to trust. You process information deeply, so shallow conversations do not satisfy you. You protect your energy, so you cannot be everywhere. You build trust slowly, so you do not open up to just anyone. And you are emotionally mature, so you no longer fit into relationships built on drama or temporary attention. In a world that rewards fast and wide connections, you choose slow and meaningful ones. That choice makes your path quieter, but also clearer. You are not lonely because you lack value. You simply refuse to trade inner peace for the illusion of connection. If you saw yourself in this video, give yourself a small signal. Leave a comment, even just one word, to say that you were here and that this resonated with you. Not to seek attention, but to remind yourself that others see the world the way you do. And if you want more conversations like this, you can subscribe to the channel. Nothing here is meant to change you, only to help you understand yourself a little more clearly, and to remind you that having fewer friends is not a weakness, but a sign of discernment, depth, and emotional clarity.